One of my favorite things to do in life is to tell stories. Whether it is by writing novels or performing theater, I love to tell other people's stories, even if these people are fictional. The reason I love telling stories, and frankly, the reason I believe stories are told in the first place, is because it forces us to abandon our own perspective and see the world as someone else sees it. Considering that we are always bombarded with our own perspective, I think it's pretty awesome that we have the ability to get out of that from time to time. Now, when we learn about someone else's story, we may discover how similar we are to that person. However, I believe that our goal should not be to find what is similar between us and this person we are learning about. Rather, our goal should be to seek out the differences. Why? Because it is by looking for the differences in others' perspectives that we learn most about the world around us. Don't get me wrong, you learn a lot by looking at things through your own perspective. But it is by looking through someone else's eyes and scanning for those differences that you can see things about the world that you've never seen before. Now, these are things you may have eventually been able to see on your own, but it is also likely that your cognitive biases would have ever prevented you from seeing this on your own. The perfect example of this is the iconic movie/book, Twilight. For those of you who haven't seen the film or read the books, this is the story of a vampire named Edward who falls in love with a human girl named Bella. If Bella hadn't met Edward, Bella would have never learned about the vampire world. She would have never learned about werewolves or the Volturi or any of those other supernatural things. She would have never known about the world that she would one day come to love so much. Imagine that. I know. I shudder at the thought as well. In the context of making friends with someone, though, it may sound strange to try and find how you may be different from this person. After all, don't we want to make friends with people who are similar to us? Well, that may be true. But something I've learned in my 17 years of being alive is that the reason you love someone is not because they are like you. You love them for all the reasons they are different from you. You love them for their unique qualities that make up their amazing personality. You love these things because to you, they represent all that's good in the world. By meeting this person, you found one more thing to love about life. This helps you not only expand your outlook on the world, as I've already discussed, but it also gives you an idea of who you want to be. And by being around these people, you learn how to develop the qualities that you may not have had, and you grow. A lot of my closest friends are nothing like me. While I am very studious and spend 90% of the time working, my friends find the fun in every moment. They have a different work-life balance than I do. Although it can be trying at times to get along with them, I wouldn't trade them for the world. They taught me that there's more to life than working all the time. They taught me how to find the fun in every moment. And they've often forced me to put aside my work and go hang out with them. And those moments became my most treasured memories. Because of them, I became the person that I am today. Not only did I grow as a person by being around different people, I grew my view of the world. I have had the privilege of being able to visit so many different countries, particularly in Asia, where I used to live. Though I learned some things while I visited those places, I learned the most about their cultures by talking to people who are actually from those places. For instance, recently I've been asking my mom a lot of questions about Indonesia and her experiences there. She is fully Indonesian, and I am half Indonesian, so there are some things that I miss. In talking with her, I've learned more things about Indonesia than I did in the 15 years that I lived there. Luckily for us, Applebee's student body holds a multitude of different cultural backgrounds. So if we haven't traveled somewhere, but we still want to get to know a little bit about the different cultures of the world, there are plenty of people to ask. Not only do you learn by listening to someone's words, but the look in someone's eyes when they talk about where they're from, well, that can tell you a lot more about a place than a few reviews on TripAdvisor could. Of course, it's easier said than done to get to know different people. We naturally gravitate to those who are similar to us, as it is easier to form bonds with them. Believe me, the differences between my friends and I have caused many explosive fights. But we always made up. And by doing that, I have learned a few strategies to help me get along with different people that I would like to impart on you all today. The first is to just be honest. If your friend is talking about something you've never heard of before, let's say a new movie or a new video game, it's better to be honest and just say you've never heard of it. Trying to pretend you know things that you don't actually know can put a real wedge into any friendship. And to add on to that piece of advice, You could also take the time to research the things that your friends like or are involved with. When you take the time to do something like this, it shows someone you care about their whole personality, even the parts that you don't fully understand. The second tip I have is to be open. If you come off to someone as closed and judgmental, chances are people aren't going to be willing to share their unique experiences with you. Having said that, the third tip is not to force anything. If you force someone to talk about something they aren't comfortable with sharing, they will likely only be sharing surface-level information or something whose truth has been altered. Therefore, you are not learning anything about that person or the subject of interest. The fourth tip is to never treat someone as an idea, a symbol, or an archetype. Treat them as what they are, a human being. To explain this, I want to give an example. Imagine you meet someone who is a prodigy in physics. I'm sure we all know that physics has a bit of a reputation for being one of the more difficult sciences, so to meet someone who is a natural at it, well, that's pretty impressive. You want to get to know all about their brain and how they can so easily understand all of these extremely complicated concepts. You get so invested in this that you forget to ask if this person is also an artist, a philanthropist, or an activist, or whatever else a person can be. If you focus on just one aspect of the person, you are showing them that you don't care about them as a whole. That can be extremely hurtful and definitely not conducive to fostering a friendship. The final tip is to be brave. According to a study published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships, one of the reasons we like people who are similar to us is because it provides certainty. Certainty that we will be liked. I mean, if someone's personality is exactly the same as yours, it's pretty likely that they're going to like you. It also provides us certainty that our attitudes, our beliefs, and our personalities in general are okay. Think about it. If you were to walk out of a test and you thought the answer to question 5 was B, but everyone else was saying it was C, you wouldn't be very confident about that belief. But if someone agrees with you that the answer is B, then you'll definitely be more confident about that choice. When you are around someone who is different from you, it's like being around a million people who are all saying the answer was C when you swear that it was B. And that uncertainty is very daunting and definitely uncomfortable. So to face it, it requires a little bit of bravery. If we can all keep those tips in mind, we will find that our circles get larger and more diverse. As a result of that, our personalities grow and our view of the world expands. So, before I wrap up here, I want to leave you all with one last thought. To know more of the world is not to see more of it. It is to understand that the world you see is not the only one. And it is to be brave enough to abandon what is familiar that helps you learn more about this hectic world we live in. Now will you please rise and virtually sing, "Draw the Circle Wide."